Economic wars have long been a potent tool for nations seeking to assert power, challenge rivals, or defend their interests without resorting to traditional warfare. These conflicts, fought with financial weapons rather than bombs and bullets, involve tactics such as sanctions, tariffs, currency manipulations, and trade restrictions. Unlike conventional wars, economic wars can be prolonged, subtle, and deeply impactful, influencing not only governments and businesses but also the lives of ordinary citizens. They operate in the gray areas of international relations, blending strategy, politics, and economics into a complex web of influence and control. At the heart of any economic war lies the struggle for dominance over resources, markets, and financial systems. Nations often deploy measures to weaken their rivals' economies, thereby reducing their global influence. For instance, trade sanctions can disrupt supply chains and cripple industries, while currency devaluation can undermine a nation's purchasing power and financial stability. These tactics are not just limited to bilateral disputes. They often have ripple effects on global markets, creating economic uncertainty and volatility. Investors, businesses, and even consumers can find themselves caught in the crossfire of these financial battles, facing higher costs, reduced opportunities, or economic instability. The history of economic warfare is as old as commerce itself. In the ancient world, city-states and empires would impose blockades or restrict trade routes to weaken adversaries. Over time, these tactics evolved to include more sophisticated measures, such as embargoes and economic sanctions. The 20th century witnessed some of the most significant instances of economic warfare, especially during the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union engaged in a fierce ideological and economic rivalry, using trade policies, aid programs, and financial institutions to extend their influence across the globe. The Marshall Plan, for example, was a strategic move by the United States to rebuild war-torn Europe and counter Soviet expansion, demonstrating how economic policies could serve as tools of diplomacy and conflict. In recent years, economic wars have taken on new dimensions, driven by globalization, technological advancements, and shifting power dynamics. The rise of China as a global economic powerhouse has led to increased tensions with the United States, resulting in a trade war characterized by tariffs, export restrictions, and accusations of intellectual property theft. Both nations have sought to protect their interests and gain an upper hand, but the consequences have been felt worldwide. Supply chains have been disrupted, manufacturing costs have risen, and businesses have faced uncertainty, highlighting the interconnected nature of the modern global economy. Another significant aspect of economic warfare is the use of sanctions to achieve political objectives. Sanctions are often described as a double-edged sword. While they can pressure governments to change behavior, they can also harm the very populations they aim to protect. For instance, sanctions imposed on countries like Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela have aimed to curb nuclear proliferation, human rights abuses, or authoritarian regimes. However, these measures have also led to widespread economic hardship, affecting access to food, medicine, and basic services. Critics argue that sanctions can sometimes entrench authoritarian governments by fostering a sense of national unity against external pressure, complicating efforts to bring about meaningful change. Currency manipulation is another weapon in the arsenal of economic warfare. By devaluing or inflating their currency, nations can make their exports more competitive or reduce the burden of foreign debt. However, such actions can trigger retaliatory measures, disrupt global financial systems, and lead to currency wars. These conflicts, often invisible to the average citizen, can have profound implications for international trade and investment. Central banks play a crucial role in this arena, using monetary policies to stabilize or influence currency values. The delicate balance between fostering economic growth and maintaining financial stability underscores the challenges of navigating economic warfare. The advent of technology has added new layers to economic conflicts. Cyber attacks on financial institutions, intellectual property theft, and the manipulation of digital currencies are becoming increasingly prevalent. These tactics blur the lines between economic and cyber warfare, creating new challenges for governments and businesses. The rise of cryptocurrencies, for example, has introduced both opportunities and risks. While digital currencies offer new avenues for trade and investment, they also provide tools for evading sanctions or conducting illicit activities, complicating efforts to regulate and control economic conflicts. One of the most debated aspects of economic warfare is its effectiveness. Proponents argue that it offers a means to achieve strategic objectives without the human and financial costs of conventional wars. Economic measures can weaken adversaries, deter aggression, and signal resolve, all while avoiding direct military confrontation. Critics, however, contend that economic wars often lead to unintended consequences, harming allies and innocent populations, fostering resentment, and prolonging conflicts. The debate highlights the ethical and practical dilemmas of using economic tools as instruments of power. As the world becomes increasingly interconnected, the stakes of economic warfare continue to rise. Global challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and technological disruptions require cooperation and collaboration, yet economic conflicts can undermine trust and solidarity. Nations must navigate a delicate balance between protecting their interests and contributing to a stable and prosperous global order. Multilateral institutions, such as the World Trade Organization and the International Monetary Fund, play a vital role in mediating disputes and promoting fair and transparent economic practices. However, their effectiveness depends on the willingness of nations to cooperate and uphold the principles of international law. In conclusion, economic wars represent a powerful yet complex tool in the arsenal of modern states. They reflect the shifting dynamics of power and influence in an interconnected world, where financial systems, trade networks, and technological advancements are deeply intertwined. While economic warfare can achieve strategic objectives, it also poses significant risks and challenges, from ethical dilemmas to unintended consequences. Understanding the nuances of economic conflicts is essential for navigating the opportunities and threats of the 21st century, fostering a global order that balances national interests with collective prosperity. The art of economic warfare is a testament to the enduring interplay between strategy, economics, and human ambition, shaping the course of history in profound and unpredictable ways.